us. And, you know, they don't have our mental backing because we don't think about them. And they can't represent us unless they think about us. Me. It just means a bunch of Sambos, a bunch of corruptly who are willing to be paid to be led by someone who doesn't have the best interest of people who predominate their cabinet. They have the best interest of themselves and people who like them. So that's why I push back with you on that strong driver. Hello? Hello? That's a great 26, trying to tell that man who or what he is. He knew who he was. He didn't denounce his Indian side. He lived on his motherland. What you talking about? So if that man wrote to the legislator and him and his brother saying African on the letter that they sent in there, who the fuck am I in 2026 to tell that man who he is? That's how he identified himself. I didn't identify him like that. 50 million, you're not doing well at all. 50 million Jeremy needs for someone to make it. Shit, I'm homeless. But yeah. Now then, I began to understand the horrible fascination of it. Incorporate that flesh in yourself. The taste will kill the smell. Eat and become insane. That is the only refuge from self-consciousness, from the unbearable fear that goes with it. I must admit that I clung to this thought for one passionate moment. I ceased to be the man of science, coldly aloof, the man who had risked his life and his reason in the course of his duty. I had seen something so fearful that I came back with a jerk to the plane of emotion. I was greedy to forget it in madness. And I understood well why a man, weakened by disease, should snatch at the bait and hook. The promise of pleasure and rest would soothe him for a moment. Then the fierce lusts would enrage him. Then the fog would settle upon his mind. Then his moral nature would collapse. And at that moment, the soul of him, stripped of its wardens, would come face to face with itself and its fear. I confess that I gulped at the fragment of putrescence on my spatula, with the greed of a cocaine fiend after a spell of abstention. The taste came as a surprise. Instantly, as my tongue touched the fish, my fear spectre vanished, and I was conscious of a relaxed exhilaration. I recovered my mental faculties completely, and found myself able to observe my sensations with proper detachment. It was a sweet, sickly flavor with a savor of spice. One longed to roll it about one's palate, like a fellow Trinity with 63 port. My eldest brother won a Caesarship and took a double fist first, subsequently becoming lecturer in critical epistemology and eschatological anthropometry. I often dined at the high table, so pardon my choice of metaphor, but this taste appertains to the wizardry of the kitchen. I soon was aware of the pill beneath the coating. The flesh itself anesthetizes the nerves of the tongue, as cocaine does, but the flavor is rather rancid than bitter, as cocaine is. The palate perceived a certain rottenness as the food passed over it, and there was a decided impulse to vomit as it entered the pharynx. This was partly psychical, as I judge, for my soul leapt at me in fierce disgust, as if to say, "What is this filth you're eating? You a man?" It was a physical spasm of shame. Then came the aftertaste. Gas rotated. It was that fear once more, bare now of all disguises. And in my mouth what thirst, what bitterness. Time held his breath for a space. I spent uncounted ages of anguish in a few seconds. Okay, I want to thank everybody for joining me here on Clubhouse on YouTube. We're reading a book called The Fish by Aleister Crowley. This is a book that mocks Christianity and doctors. It's very funny. I hope you're enjoying my reading of it in this English accent. Here we go. Here's the rest of it. I knew it instantly. It was again myself, my desolate ache for love, the craving of a heart, insatiably athirst for some unnamed and unconceived fulfillment. It was man's microcosmic image of the need of God. They say it in all man's microcosmic image of the need of God. I say it in all reverence. That he, assuaged by his creation, we dizzy ourselves, at first by calf love, later by wine, by fashioning new temples, where our soul may worship its image, building them either of children or of art, but soon or late our drunkenness wears off. The ache returns anon. We end by hoping that where love has failed us, death may succeed. We wish for nothing, even when we call it everything. We only have hope heaven. Life has taught us that all realized desires are dust, as we are dust. Nirvana seems more likely. And this ache is the other half of the dowry of our bride self-consciousness. The aftertaste of the fish might not have been so bitter to another man, Moses Thornley, in fact, whom I induced to make a trial of it, while confirming my observations, substantially so at least, in other ways, called the aftertaste rather pleasantly metallic, and somehow like India rubber, and suggestive, I can hardly say why, of Passover cakes. I must now describe the physiological effects of the poison. My exhilaration wore off almost immediately, and was succeeded by a curious feeling of worry, which I quite irrationally connected with my financial position. I had a sudden impulse to eat heartily of the fish. It passed quickly, with the queerly hopeless thought that it wouldn't work. The blood now congested the brain. I became slightly tipsy, in a silly and puerile fashion. I had yawning fits, became restless, wanted to stretch my limbs, and experienced an absurd inclination to giggle. Faint, flitting thoughts, vague verities, chased each other in my mind, which seemed full of rosy laziness. I felt an almost pious satisfaction at having eaten the fish, and a sharp, half-shocked annoyance with myself when my mind wandered from the subject. At one moment I had an actual pang. I can only compare it to that of a boy who has idolized and idealized his sister, and comes on her kissing the butler. This was when I had enjoyed a long rapture, almost a swoon of sleepy self-satisfaction with the fish itself, and with myself for having eaten it, and suddenly switched off to remember a peculiarly ribald and degrading episode in Naples when pesce happened to be the master's word of the situation. A similar angry refusal to face the facts of life started up at the intrusion of a thought about the meaning of fish in ancient religions, as explained to me once by a contributor to the London Punchinello, who subsequently disgraced himself in an unspeakably loathsome piss of abomination. There's like 10 more pages in this book. This is going to be the last page I read, so. After this, I'll try to find Dr. Copeland's room again. I couldn't find it. I was playing something else with Lonzo. Okay, it's page 66. During this half hour of hallucination, I was all the while conscious of the efforts of my body to eliminate the poison. I felt an assured confidence that it had no real hold on my system, rather as a man might pick up a woman of a certain class after overindulgence in the pleasures of the table, and fancy himself fallen in love, yet with another part of him well aware that she was no more to him than occasion for the sin and delight of the night, and for the repentance and disgust of the morning. 40 minutes after tasting the fish, the symptoms had completely disappeared, leaving a slight headache and an inexplicable sense of disappointment, such as a man might have who had backed a winner at 100 to 1 and been paid in notes of the Bank of Engraving. For long after, strange to say, certain psychological effects of the experiment persisted. I found myself constantly on my guard against those weaknesses which it had revealed in myself. I became almost morbidly suspicious about my food, and even cut out whiskey, coffee, and tobacco for some weeks. The reason is evident enough. I am a man of science, first and last. The fish, drunk, showed me myself in most passion for truth, and my momentary surrender to the siren was a shame smeared on my past, to be lived down, perhaps, but only by instant intent on the path of the future. I once cheated a gang of knaves for a number of years. I blush less for than I do for the month in my boyhood, when they cheated me into cheating myself, and so cheated me of myself that I was cheated into cheating them. How one lie twists and wriggles, but the curvy always closes the lie. With its litter of lies, never fails to come back to the original liar. No, thank you. I'll join Socrates in a cup of hemlock. Keep my mind clear to the last second and turn into a nice, clean corpse. But no more fish for Harry Toad.
And then you have some. Yes. Guess what? You just heard it a couple of days ago. I had been reading about this several years ago.
Honestly, I was just trying to show how wicked and evil people were back in the past, and they still are today. Because everybody's becoming exponentially more evil today. So.
Yeah. Yes, can I ask you a question, brother? Really quick, brother? West Africa. I can talk about a lot of West African atrocities. Can I ask you something, Yasha, really quickly, brother? What about cannibalism? No, West Africa. Oh no, I'm Canadian. As a self-hating. Oh no, I'm sorry, your mic's not black. Sorry, as someone who hates blacks, right? Can I ask you something? Like, I'm sorry, my bad. Americans. Let me ask you. Can I ask you something? Do you think? Because here's the nuance, right? 40 acres and mule. Fuck yeah. I think the reason why the most wealthy fucking indigenous fucking nation in America. And let me just put this out. You guys don't know this because you're Americans and don't get access to information or education. But like the Indian, I think you still call them Indians because you think that, anyways, the Indian tribe in Florida is so wealthy that every single one of their wealthy tribe members gets I think it's somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000 US a month. They don't pay taxes because they are a wealthy indigenous nation that has just fucking demonstrated how big their dicks are. And you guys, as Americans who don't get, well, but hold on, honey. You guys, as Americans who do not get $30,000 a month, but instead live in poverty, you fucking poor cocks. Like, and my question to you is this, Taiwan or Yasha or anyone. You say, hey, don't bitch about being black and the reason why you're poor because you did not get 48 years a mule because a white man retracted that. But those same white colonizers to the indigenous people that they didn't slaughter en masse, they were like, okay, the fuckers that lived, we'll just fucking sign some agreements, but we'll respect it. And the reason why those Indians, I know, racist as fuck, you fucking idiots, they're not Indians, they're indigenous. Those Indians in Florida, how do you feel that they get $20,000 a month because they're part of a wealthy, smart, fucking indigenous nation? When you fucking cracker cocks get taxed the majority of your fucking wealth so that you can be poor and support white cracker billionaires. That's my question. Ask that. So you cherry pick a few Native Americans, where you do have black Native Americans as well, especially in Connecticut, that get those same benefits. Who cares? That ain't got nothing to do with me. So why would you even frame that question? Oh, I know why you framed it. Like, oh, well, since Native Americans are getting benefits, African Americans can get benefits. That's why you framed it that way. I disagree. Like, I don't agree with reparations. I don't. Anything you say will not prove that the government owes people like Taz any goddamn money.
And Jeremy, what you apparently are referring to is the Seminole tribe, which is involved in casino gambling